Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of Matt Mangles McCartney. Special outdoor edition, I might add. Well, folks, it's been a while since I've done a Matt Mangles McCartney video. We had the series with my friend Jim Cushman recently. That was a lot of fun. I think you enjoyed that. And we've done some other videos subsequently, but I haven't done a Mangles McCartney in a while. So we got to get back to it, all right? So where did we leave off last time? We always have to do a little recap of what happened last time. Well, last time it was 1982, Tug of War had come out. I talked about that I had gotten back from England from being overseas from 79 till late 81. I got assigned to Plattsburgh Air Force Base in upstate New York. I was driving home about once a month, 5-hour drive, meeting up with Mrs. Street on occasion. She was going into her junior year of college, nursing school. And, you know, that end of 82 came and we got rumblings that Paul was continuing work with George Martin. Linda was still involved. Jeff Emmerich was involved still. It sounded like the same crew that had worked on Tug of War was still working, finishing up some newer material with Paul. Ringo was involved. Eric Stewart was involved. Denny Lane was still hanging around, albeit it would be his final, just about his final tenure with Paul doing stuff in the studio. And then we got rumblings that by the end of 1982 or so, that Paul was starting or beginning filming a movie. I remember at the end of 82, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I had gotten rumblings that Paul was going to be filming some type of movie, and it was kicking off, like I say, late 82 into early 83. Now, as 1983 kicked in, I was getting ready to leave the United States Air Force active duty. I was going to be having to do 2 years reserves, but at least with the reserves I would be home. I'd only have to go one weekend a month, a couple of weeks out of the year in the summertime. I was working at my, I was going to work at my uncle's shop when I got out. So anyway, yeah, let's just get right to that. Let's get this story going here. So, late June of 83, I was released from the Air Force. My uncle gave me a job at his shop in Providence, Rhode Island, and I was going to school to finish up college on the side. I had gotten many credits in the Air Force, thank you Uncle Sam for that, but I needed to finish up. So I was going to be going to school, working at my uncle's shop as a new civilian, so to speak, albeit I'm in the reserves. Mrs. Street was getting ready to start her senior year of nursing school in the fall of 83. And we were seeing each other. I started having strong feelings for her around that time. Things started to grow from my end, and looking back at it now, I think they were from her end as well, but I didn't know that at the time. I really had strong feelings for her in the summer of 83. And so by the fall, we had started going out a little bit more one-on-one, the two of us. It wasn't so much as a group of friends anymore, or a couple of other people hanging around, and we would just be all out together. End of 83, that autumn, is when I started going out with her, just me and her. Little dinners, little get-togethers over her house. She might come over my house, listen to music. We might go get some ice cream or something like that. The feelings were there, folks. They were growing in me strongly for her. And it was that October that Say, 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 the first single from a new album from Paul, was coming. It was a single with Michael Jackson. I have to say, folks, it's never been one of my favorites, Say, Say, Say. I know it was #1 for 6 weeks, but it never really struck a chord with me. It was just one of those things like, it's okay. But it didn't give me a lot of promise for the new album, especially since I had loved Tug of War so much and just swore by that album to anyone who would listen. I just raved about it so much. October 17th, the new album came out. 1983, Pipes of Peace. And here it is. I couldn't bring the vinyl out in the woods, folks, sorry. Pipes of Peace came out October 17th, 1983. A little bit of a letdown. It only made number 15 on the charts here in the US, which was kind of a downer after the majesty of Tug of War made #1. It was a smash. Yes, Say, Say, Say was a great single, but I think that was kind of riding on the coattails of Michael Jackson a little bit, who was so hot after Thriller at the time. But this album was a little bit of a downer for me, folks. I didn't quite care for it as much as Tug of War. I like many songs on it. I'll tell you right now, the winners for me on here back then and still to this day are Pipes of Peace. I Love So Bad. Sweetest Little Show is great. Through Our Love is a fabulous ballad. Average Person is okay, and Keep Undercover is okay. The downers for me are like The Other Me, can't get into it. Say, 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 and The Man, the two Michael Jackson songs, just not my bag. Hey, Hey, I told you in another video, you know, here you have Stanley Clarke, such a talent, Paul, such a talent, and all they come up with together was Hey, Hey. Doesn't do much for me. And the song Tug of Peace doesn't do much for me. So, I'm not, you know, I know I make fun of this album sometimes, and I put it on my Bottom Feeders video from not too long ago, but I have to say, folks, when you look at it in comparison to the rest of Paul's catalog, at least in my book, it is towards the bottom. It's in that bottom 3 or 4 albums. Unfortunately, it's just the way I feel about it. It's there's some highs on here, some winners, like I said, but there's a lot of downers too. So I can't get behind this with the enthusiasm as I do with Tug of War. I just can't. But let's move on to the story again, anyway, of my life in Pipes of Peace, because there are some nice memories that come with this album. Because, like I said, when this album came out in the throes of autumn '83, I was falling for Mrs. Street. I had strong feelings for her, and I thought she did for me at the time. We had been going out now together for several months. And here's what happened. The song So Bad reminds me of our first real kiss. Had to be late October into November. Wasn't quite winter yet. I had the cassette of this. We went out to eat dinner at a little Italian restaurant, kind of in a rural area near where I live. And you know, we had been talking back and forth about, you know, we're going out and that, but no, we hadn't really committed to each other yet. And we were in the restaurant. I remember talking to her and saying, "Oh, you know, I really like you, and if, you know, if someday you and I ever became a true couple," I forget how I worded it. It's 30 whatever years ago now. I said, "Oh, I basically was trying to tell her that I would treat her the best I could and the way she deserved to be treated." I forget how I worded it, but I just was like, you know, if we ever do become a couple, that I will go out of my way to make you happy. You know, that kind of talk with her. And she nodded and stuff, and I didn't know how she was taking it, and she, you know, we spoke a little bit about it. Then as we were leaving the restaurant, we walked out to the car. Now it's getting later, it's about 8:30 or so. It's, you know, it's dark, obviously, at that time. As we're walking to the car, she says to me, "Would you like a lifesaver?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll have a lifesaver." She gave me a lifesaver. What a sneaky devil she was, you know. Trying to, you know, after eating supper, wanted my breath to be nice, I guess. After you've eaten Italian with garlic and onions and God knows what else, right, folks? You don't have quick access to a toothbrush, but she asked me if I wanted a lifesaver. Okay, I took the lifesaver. We get in the car. Pipes of Peace was sitting in, you know how the cassettes would stick out a little bit. I popped Pipes of Peace in, and it was like halfway through the song So Bad. And as the song started playing, she essentially grabbed me, pulled me in, and we kissed for the first time. And I just was like knocked out. I was just blown away, like, wow, this is really happening, you know. I'm falling for her, and I think she's falling for me. And that will always be a memory, even though this isn't one of my favorite albums, folks, but that will always be a cherished memory of that first time. And I still can remember the place where it happened, the first kiss, the moment we kissed to So Bad. You know, you couldn't ask for a better situation or a better song to be playing, you know. So I can't complain. You know, this album will always have that in my heart. The video for Pipes of Peace came out around that time, and that was an instant classic. I remember seeing that on MTV and whatnot. And I remember she was still, Mrs. Street was still working at Burger King at the time, and finishing up her school that last year. 83, 84 was her senior year in nursing school, and she was Burger King still. And I used to go over and sit with her on breaks and stuff and talk to her, and I'd pick her up there after work to go out. And I just remember this album being part of that soundtrack, part of that part of my life. Late 1983, when me and Mrs. Street were starting to fall in love with one another. We hadn't gotten engaged yet, but that was coming. That was coming in early first half of '84. So maybe we'll chat a little bit about that in the next Matt Mangles McCartney video. We'll talk about that and how that came about. But I thank Paul for this album. Not his greatest, but Paul, you brought back a lot. You bring back a lot of memories with this album for me, Paul, and falling in love with my beautiful wife, my wife of 35 years now, and you know, knowing her since 1978. Great memories. So that's it, folks. That's my memories of Pipes of Peace in this edition of Matt Mangles McCartney. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back again very soon. Take care. God bless. Goodbye.